Welcome to the first virtual NAFB convention. Your session will begin momentarily. Before we begin this session of the first ever virtual NAFB convention, we would like to make a few acknowledgments. Thank you to BASF for sponsoring the virtual convention platform. BASF has been a sponsor of the NAFB for more than 30 years, and we appreciate their continued partnership. Did you know that by attending this session today, you'll receive points with the NAFB Virtual Convention game, brought to you by Anuvia Plant Nutrients? Be sure to check the leaderboard on the site. The top 5 participants will receive gift cards. Before we begin this session, I'd like to remind everyone of a couple of things. Be sure to use the hashtag NAFB20 on all of your social media posts. And the NAFB Foundation auction also continues online. Be sure to utilize the proxy bid system to secure your bids today. We would like to send a big thank you to Corteva for sponsoring the video production of this session. Welcome to the first virtual NAFB convention. Your session will begin momentarily. Before we begin this session of the first ever virtual NAFB convention, we would like to make a few acknowledgments. Thank you to BASF for sponsoring the virtual convention platform. BASF has been a sponsor of the NAFB for more than 30 years, and we appreciate their continued partnership. Did you know that by attending this session today, you'll receive points with the NAFB Virtual Convention game, brought to you by Anuvia Plant Nutrients? Be sure to check the leaderboard on the site. The top 5 participants will receive gift cards. Before we begin this session, I'd like to remind everyone of a couple of things. Be sure to use the hashtag NAFB20 on all of your social media posts. And the NAFB Foundation auction also continues online. Be sure to utilize the proxy bid system to secure your bids today. We would like to send a big thank you to Corteva for sponsoring the video production of this session.
all-member annual meeting of the National Association of Farm Broadcasting will now come to order. I'm Rita Frazier, your 2020 NAFB president. Before we get to the business at hand today, I'd like to ask Mike Adams to offer a blessing for us this afternoon. Mike?
Our dear Heavenly Father, as we gather in this unusual way, in this unusual year, we thank you that although we are socially distanced, we are not separated from you and your love. We seek your guidance and ask for your healing for our country, from the virus, from political differences, and from social unrest. And we thank you for our military personnel and our medical and healthcare workers. Please protect them as they protect us. And we thank you for our farmers, who with your blessings feed the world. We ask that you guide us in our work to share agriculture's story and help urban and rural audiences understand each other better. Please guide us and help us to serve you by serving others. We pray in Jesus' holy name.
I'd like to introduce the board. President-elect Gail Cunningham, WYXY Radio, Champaign, Illinois. The National Vice President, Spencer Chase, AgriPulse Communications, Washington, D.C. Representing the Allied Industry Council, Chad Colby, Colby Ag Tech, Goodfield, Illinois. Amy Bradford, Growmark, Bloomington, Illinois. Representing the Management Sales Council, Courtney Kibblewhite, Northern Ag Network, Billings, Montana. Breck Von Bank, American Ag Network, Adams on Agriculture, Fargo, North Dakota. Marketing and Promotions Committee Chair, Sabrina Halverson, American Ag Network, Fargo, North Dakota. And your regional vice presidents. East Region, Eric Pfeiffer, Hoosier Ag Today, West Lafayette, Indiana. West Region, Kara Hart, Red River Farm Network, Grand Forks, North Dakota. South Region, Carrie Martin, Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network, Waco, Texas. We also welcome back our parliamentarian, Virginia Berberick. Virginia Berberick has served on the board of the directors of the National Association of Parliamentarians as treasurer and many other roles. She also served as president of the Missouri State Associations of Parliamentarians from 1992 to 1994 and on many state committees. Virginia has also been an instructor and a judge of business procedures for the National Skills USA competitions for the 30-plus years that Skills USA has held its national competition in Kansas City. She has served as our convention parliamentarian for more than 12 years. In addition to her parliamentarian duties, Virginia also works as a bylaws consultant and an instructor for several organizations, including a blind organization and a teachers association. Virginia enjoys dancing weekly to live big band music. The next item of business is the adoption of the agenda, which is available on this meeting page. If there is no objection, the agenda will not be read. Is there debate? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The agenda is adopted. Now it's time for our reports. The President's report. It has been a true privilege to serve you as your president this year. I'm honored to have worked with a balanced board. Although we did not always agree on everything, we came together on the big issues that mattered and left the boardroom or Zoom call unified in support of NAFB. I feel very lucky to have had the chance to represent you at 4 national meetings before the shutdown: the American Farm Bureau Federation annual meeting, National Cattlemen's, the National Association of Conservation Districts, and Commodity Classic. After the shutdown and the dust settled a bit, we were able to come together as a board and began meeting by Zoom and conference call. And we quickly realized that the need to communicate with the membership was real. Many of you in your shops are still hurting, and we know the pain isn't over yet. But the staff and the board began holding afternoon Zoom meetings to try and bring members together for some counsel, if needed, information, sometimes being able to see your fellow farm broadcasters and friends, knowing you are not alone, can be great medicine, and I think it worked. I had the idea for the NAFB notes. It worked with myself as well as most board members. We recorded messages that contained words of support and encouragement, entertainment, and valuable information as our plans began to change for meetings like Washington Watch, the summer meeting, and of course this virtual fall meeting. Making those decisions to operate under the restrictions of COVID-19 were not easy. Several conference calls, Zoom calls, and we took input from every board member. It was needed to eventually reach those final decisions. Although the year dictated our agenda for us, our mission was clear: keep NAFB moving, keep members supported, and push on for farmers and farm broadcasting. I would say we did get to work on a strategic plan. Maybe not the one for 2025, but the 2020 version, which pushed the board, the staff, to work harder than ever before on a virtual meeting and obtain sponsorships that now we know are at levels beyond what any of us thought possible. We were able to remain true to our mission. The National Association of Farm Broadcasting exists to lead, promote, and support growth in agricultural and rural lifestyle broadcasting for the benefit of our members, audience, and industry. A sincere, heartfelt thank you to every board member, to Tom and the staff for their outstanding work during this pandemic year. I am thrilled with the candidates we have going forward for this 2021 board and wish all of you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Good afternoon, folks. 2 years ago, I stood in front of you as I was running for your National Vice President position. I stated in my speech that afternoon, and it surprised some of you, that I would stand in the shadow of Rita Frazier anytime. In her speech, she said that she felt that it was her time. Well, she, you, and I were right. It was her time. And it's been an honor to serve with Rita over the past 2 years. Little did either of us know what challenges would be for all of us in 2020. For the NFB, for you, for your station, for your network. However, without Rita's calm and deliberate leadership, the outcome of our organization could have been much different. In my role as your president-elect, one of my duties is to serve as the NAFB convention chair. Hallelujah. Boy, when I first went and met in the office with staff, little did any of us know what changes were coming. Shannon, our events planner, decided to change her career path, which did, and for that matter, immediately show us her value and that maybe we didn't give her enough credit. And then pandemic COVID-19 hit. Therefore, having to be prudent and protective, and in trying to follow others' protocol on conventions and meetings, another shoe had to drop. Collectively, after a lot of discussion, your board elected to have this year's convention virtually. The first time ever. which indeed brought some immense challenges in the way that we would move forward. I'm certain that we've had and probably will have some more bumps in the road during this national virtual convention, but I need to address with you some important facts. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to our staff at NAFB. Even though offices were dark from time to time and an awful lot of work was done from the kitchen table or for a home office, our NAFB staff, running down a road that none of us had ever run down before, they did a phenomenal job. Each of us owe a huge thanks to Tom, to Susan, to Aaron, to Mary, and Michael. And also, due to the huge financial concerns about how do we budget for this virtual convention. And we also owe a huge thanks in that to Gene Millard. He kept the entire team abreast of the finances, the investments, and his leadership, his long-term leadership, showed us how we can adequately sustain our cash flow needs while at the same time keep our organization financially strong. So thank you, Tom, Aaron, Susan, Mary, Michael, and Gene. The team came together. They made decisions, and their decisions were sound. They set a plan in place, created individual goals and individual accountabilities for themselves and as a team to accomplish this mission of a virtual convention. And in fact, generated a convention that would be financially sound as well as beneficial to you as council members and broadcasters, and to our partners, and for our sponsors and our sponsoring groups. And truly, this convention would be one that would go down in the annals of history for the NAFB, the very first virtual convention. Before closing my report today, I'd like to thank the board of directors as well. They were kept informed all the way throughout this year and was a part of a lot of the decision process and did a spectacular job. They brought thoughts to the table. They brought their ideas and created some very sound judgments. They had disagreements at the table that actually led us to better decisions. And they were very knowledgeable and complete in serving you as members of the NAFB. As my granddad used to say, Lord willin' and the crick don't rise. Well, in fact, Lord willin' and the crick don't rise. I'm looking forward to serving you as next year's president. And with the help of you, and with the new board, president-elect and the new vice president, and a great staff, I will have that opportunity, and it will be an honor and a privilege to do so. I look forward to it. Special thanks to Rita for the pattern that she laid out and the bar that she set, not only for me, but for presidents to come. And a very special thanks today to our national NAFB Vice President, Spencer Chase. He became a very active part of the executive committee and has brought so much to the table for our organization. Thanks, Spencer. And now it's time for his report. Ladies and gentlemen, your NAFB National Vice President, Spencer Chase. Spencer?
Hello, NAFB. My name is Spencer Chase, and I currently have the honor of serving as the Vice President on the organization's Board of Directors. Appreciate the trust of the membership in that role. And as per our organizational bylaws, I am tasked with maintaining the membership roles of our roster. And so with that in mind, I wanted to provide you with a membership update of where things stand here currently in terms of membership in the National Association of Farm Broadcasting. It has been a strong year for membership despite the pandemic and despite the various concerns. Still have strong membership numbers, and I'm happy to report those here to you now. Our Broadcast Council membership stands at 182. Our Management and Sales Council membership stands at an even 100. Our Allied Industry Council membership is at 252. Our student membership is at 186. We currently have 39 honorary members, 43 emeritus members, 3 non-commercial members, and 5 voting inactive members, which brings our total current NAFB membership to 810. And happy to repeat those numbers for anyone that should request them. By all means, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to provide our current membership status to any of you that should request it. Before I let you go, do want to note my thanks and appreciation to Mary Reeder on the NAFB staff, who does a terrific job compiling the membership applications and reporting those out to the rest of the membership committee, which per our organizational bylaws is the vice president and then the 3 regional vice presidents from the Broadcast Council. This year from the East region, that is Eric Pfeiffer. From the West region, that is Kara Hart. And from the Southern region, that is Carrie Martin. So appreciate all of the work of those individuals and appreciate all of you for continuing to believe in this organization and continuing to support it via your membership.
Hi everyone, I'm Chad Colby, and as far as the Allied Industry Council goes, like you, we all know it's been a challenging year. I certainly want to give my gratitude to the other board members, Amy Bradford, who serves with me also, and of course everyone else on the board of directors. I can tell you this, like your home or your business, 2020 has been one, quite frankly, we're all going to remember for a lot of different reasons. I think one of the things that I appreciate so much about NAFB is the strength of the organization. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of organizations all over the country that are really struggling. And I appreciate everybody's commitment to being an NAFB member. The truth is really in a conference like we have this week, everybody has stepped up to make the best of kind of an ugly situation for all of us. I know a lot of businesses have had changes. My business has changed. Your business has changed. Our family lives have changed. But I think the most important thing to remember is we're better when we're in this together. And I know the time I've spent on the board has been something I'll really cherish. It takes a little while to get your feet wet. It's a 2-year cycle. And that first year, you're just trying to figure out how it's going to work. But I can tell you from an Allied Industry Council membership goes, our numbers are good. We continue to grow. But the one thing that I would challenge everybody with is we've got to figure out as an organization where we go from here. And I think the board has done a great job with that. Really appreciate Tom's leadership and, of course, the executive committee, Rita, Gail, Spencer, of course, Lori, I worked with her last year. There's a lot of people who put a lot of thought into these events. I just wanted to give you a quick update. I look forward to hearing from many of you this week, even though it might be virtually. I've got several messages already this week. And also, I got to give a shout out to my dear friend Max Armstrong, who about 5 years ago said, Chad, you need to get involved with NAFB. And you know what? It's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Look forward to talking to you more in the future. Please be safe during this holiday season, and God bless all of you. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Courtney Kibblewhite with Northern Ag Network, and I'm your Management and Sales Council representative, along with Breck Von Bank from American Ag Network. I hear that we have over 40 Management and Sales Council members on the virtual convention, and if I'm guessing right, since they don't have a microphone in hand, they probably have a telephone in hand right now and are on calls with other clients or maybe working on their second screen. I'm not really sure, but I'm glad that they're all registered. You know, when we met earlier this year in February, that was one of my last really national meetings before the world broke, but we were talking about things like improving the NAFB planner, changing our research part, partner, even working on advertising and a strategic plan for the NAFB. However, with all those changes, it seems like everything went out the window. I would like to thank Tom Brand and Aaron Nash for their continued efforts on our behalf. Despite all of the challenges, they were able to secure Aimpoint Research as our new research partner, and we're looking forward to see what that brings. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Aimpoint Research, please go back and refer to the Management and Sales Council meeting we had earlier. I believe all of these meetings are available for replay. I'd also like to mention a special thank you to Tim Marshall, who stepped up to join the board last year and will be taking my place on the Management and Sales Council representative moving forward. So thank you to Tim. Finally, I know Mrs. Halverson, that's Mrs. Sabrina Hill Halverson, did not get to do as much traveling as she had anticipated in 2021 and spreading that new name all across the country, but I know she's got a few things to report to you as well. Sabrina?
Thanks, Courtney. Well, like everyone, we saw a lot of changes this year. We did make it to 2 conventions pre-COVID, those being NCBA and Commodity Classic. Doesn't that seem like a lifetime ago? So while we didn't have the opportunities for the in-person meetings that we normally would have had, one major project that we did work on this year was finding a new partner for our research project. Millennium has done a great job in the past, but the association wanted to freshen up the project and just give it some new life. So after a detailed selection process, which included the NAFB staff, the Marketing and Promotions Committee, the Board of Directors, we now have Aimpoint Research for next year's research project. Planning for that is underway. I also want to remind everyone to please thank our sponsors. So many companies have been just rolling with the punches this year, and we just really appreciate their continued support. This is not in my usual realm as MMP chair, but you may have noticed that green screen behind me. If you've checked out the foundation auction, you may have an idea of what that's for. If you haven't seen it, let's see if I can work up a little bit of Christmas magic. A virtual visit with Mrs. Claus straight from the North Pole is just one of the things you can bid on in the NAFB Foundation auction. It even includes a sneak peek at Santa's Naughty or Nice list. Now I know NAFBers. Wouldn't it be nice to know in advance whether you're on the Naughty or Nice list? Okay, but seriously, bid and support the foundation. If you need anything from me, I'm just an email or a phone call away. And with that, we head now to Sarah Wyant with an update from the NAFB Foundation.
Good afternoon. Thanks for all of you who are joining the business meeting virtually, and I look forward to hearing everybody's reports today. I'm Sarah Wyant, and it is my pleasure to serve as the president of the NAFB Foundation. I wish that I could have everybody else on our board here today stand up and be introduced virtually, but to make things work in this new era that we're in, I'm just going to name their names. And I hope that you will all thank them very much whenever you see them or have a chance to chat with them virtually. The proud members of the NAFB Foundation Board include Lyle Orwig, who also serves as VP of Development and Outreach, Lynn Henderson, our secretary, who does a great job, Rich Hall, our treasurer, who has been able to keep us on track throughout the pandemic with very, very substantial investments, Greg Akagi, with WIBW Radio Network and the Kansas Agricultural Network, Jennifer Anderson with John Deere, Max Armstrong with Farm Progress, Rita Frazier, who serves as the 2020 NAFB president and has been serving on our board as well, Megan Grebner with Brownfield Ag News, Susan Littlefield, who serves as our auction chair and works at KRVN, Rural Radio Network, Lance Knudsen with the American Ag Network, Ken McCauley with K&M Farms in Kansas, Tyne Morgan, Farm Journal, Russ Parker, with JL Pharmacus, Kyle Richard with Monsanto, Steve Betts with Corteva AgriScience, and Dana Schmidt with the CME Group. Please thank all of them for their hard work. We have, like so many of you, had our share of struggles at the foundation this year because of the pandemic. It's made it difficult to go out and talk to some of the sponsors and the funders that we've worked with in the past, but it's also made us stronger in thinking about how to be more resilient going forward. I'm happy to say that we've had ups and downs in our investment accounts, but Rich Hall has worked tirelessly along with others on his committee to try to make sure that we can recover from the losses that we experienced early in the year. And as the stock market goes, so do many of the NAFB Foundation funds. So we're glad that as of the last week, when we had a report with our board, that the investment funds had now topped $885,000 again. So that's very much due to the great work that Rich and his advisors have been able to do. We have continued to make great investments with our foundation scholarships, and earlier during the convention, we granted 6 collegiate scholarships. And we're so proud that we were able to keep several of those going and add a new one named after Ken Rutt. So thank you, Ken, for making the 6th scholarship possible. As I mentioned before, this is almost unheard of in the agricultural industry for a communications group to give 6 5,000 collegiate scholarships. And it just indicates and underscores how dedicated you all are to making this a great part of the foundation's efforts. We also gave out 10 $2,000 internship grants, and we are very, very proud to work with a wide variety of you and your member stations and networks to give this type of tremendous experience to our young people. You really are making a difference through your donations, whether it be the Booster Club, through just outright gifts online, through the auction, which is ongoing during the convention and will continue to be going on after the convention. So keep bidding early and often, or in any of the other ways that you are giving through your corporate donations, for example. We had a lot of corporations who, as you all know, reorganized and sometimes came together in a way that one budget plus one budget did not equal 2 budgets, but far from that. And so we had some folks pull back in their giving to the foundation last year. But I'm very pleased to report that we have outlined a strategy over the last couple of years where we have very much intended to broaden the base of donors. And whether you give $5 or $500, we appreciate you all, but we want more of you. The same goes on the corporate level. And so we keep pushing. And even as a result of our last meeting that was held virtually a week or so ago, we have now brought in another few $1,000s from new donors. And this is a strategy that we're going to continue to push on throughout the year, just to make sure that we're not only doing everything to thank and recognize our existing donors, but to expand our base. So we are really in I think, as good a place as we can possibly be, given the uncertainty of the market, given the uncertainty of a lot of agribusinesses' profits and willingness to give. And we couldn't do it all without you in this room and without a very dedicated foundation board. So I am continuing to forge ahead. I think we're going to have some exciting new things to announce as we move into 2021. We're looking at the potential for yet another scholarship. We are waiting for the pandemic to be over and vaccines to be available. And then we'll hopefully be planning another professional development trip to Africa. Whether that's 2022 or 2023, we can't quite say yet. We continue to look for other professional development projects like what we've done with market makers with CME. And so if you have ideas, if you have suggestions on anything we can do to make the foundation better, please let me know. We work for you. We want to make sure that you are getting the best return on investment you possibly can. And we are going to hold our next board meeting early next year once we have a chance to see how the market has turned out. And then we will be going forward with a new budget. But for now, thanks for all you do for the foundation.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll be the first to admit this is bittersweet, coming to you on a virtual convention platform versus getting the opportunity to see you in the halls of the Westin Crown Center or in the lobby in the former pit area, shaking hands, giving the hugs out from time to time, or even if we had to comply with the rules, giving a fist bump or an elbow bump at this time of the year. This has been quite the year for all of us. I think we've reached the point in the year where we now know of plenty of people who have had to face COVID itself. There are many among us that actually know those who have passed away from this dreaded disease. I hope that where you are today, you continue to remain safe, that you are an encouragement to your audience. I know they still continue to depend upon you. You may remember earlier this year, we did an informal survey of farmers that we'd met at Commodity Classic and Cattlemen's Beef Association and some other meetings throughout the year. And that was the thing that they told us was they're listening and they continue to listen. It matched up nicely with the research that NAFB has done for the past several years. So just that encouragement for you here today. Speaking of research, I wanted to let you know we continue to provide research for the industry. We've entered into a new agreement with Aimpoint. They're going to be doing research for us in 2021, continuing to look at farmers' listening habits and farmers' media habits. How are they utilizing farm broadcasting? Where are they listening? Who are they listening with? What are the influencers that they have in their life? What are their internet habits? How do they view the national news media compared to their local media? How do they how do they relate to social media, or even are they on social media? We'll be asking a lot of good questions, and we look forward to continuing to share those results with you. If you have not fully utilized the research that NAFB provides, I sure hope that you will take some time and explore the website for an opportunity to do just that. I do want to mention, and this is the 10th year I've done this report in front of the body, and I do want to mention the NAB website has a vast amount of resources that are available, including financial information. If you log in, you'll be able to get financial information broken down quarterly from NAFB. We hope that you'll take some time and review that information and ask questions if you have anything. Come back around with that. I'm Gene Millard talking about financials today on our investments, and I think you'll find it interesting, some of the comments that Gene has to share there. Despite this year, we continue to move forward as an association. I want to recognize Rita, and Gail, and Spencer, and really the entire board for really putting on a different mindset. We've had to meet remotely since Washington Watch and our summer meeting, and had several conference calls throughout the year. It was not an easy decision to hold this meeting virtually this year. As it ends up, Kansas City Mayor Clinton Lucas has put an order in place where groups no larger than 10 can congregate in even hotels. That starts in tomorrow. So, as much as I'd like the opportunity to be here, by the rules, we wouldn't have been able to have been together, even under the most ideal circumstances. Keep on keeping on. That's part of my message for you today. I always like to share something that I think is encouraging. And One of the things that I've had a lot of fun putting together are the Meet a Member features. I talked about this a little bit last year. If you're on Facebook and Twitter, you see those Meet a Member profiles come out a couple of times a week now. Aaron Nash from our staff puts those out there each week, and it's just a chance to learn a little bit more about your fellow NAFB members. And we do a rotation between broadcasters and Allied Industry Council, Management Sales Council, Emeritus Honorary members, and even get some students slipped in there from time to time. The question that I enjoy seeing the responses to is, what are the 3 words that you use to describe NAFB? And we've had well over 150 responses that have come into that. And let me share with you just a few of the highlights. I like this one: active, professional, valuable. Awesome, impactful, valuable. There's that valuable word again. If there's words that resonate again and again on these 3 words to describe NAFB, community is one of those that stood out. Several people listed that first. There's one response that even came back and said, what are the 3 words that best describe NAFB? And they said community, community, community. Connection or connected was a very strong word that came back from people as well. And dedicated. When they think about NAFB members, they think about the dedication they have to agriculture. Here's one that I know that comes to mind for a lot of people, and it's listed first in people's responses again and again, and that's the family word. Family, friendship, friendly. Those are words that I think resonate with us very well. Let's look at some other words, though, that people use to describe NAFB. Hardworking, service, industrious, making a difference, trustworthy, well-respected, and then inform, information, informative, informer, and informing. Those are awesome words to hear back about really compliments that are coming to members of NAFB. Network and networking were also words that we saw used again and again in responses from people on how they described NAFB in just 3 words. Relationships came into play. There were also mentions of opportunities, laughs, endurance, and talented that were a part of the response. I found it interesting that 2 people, unique from each other in their membership, both said NAFB, the 3 words that came to mind for them were voice of agriculture. Farm broadcaster members, you are the voice of agriculture, and I'm reminded what an encouragement you are and an informer you are to your listening audience and your viewing audience on a daily basis. Thank you for the work that you do. And by the way, what was the number 1 word when people take 3 words to describe NAFB? I don't think anyone will be surprised by this. It's professional. That's what you are. Not just describing our broadcasters, but describing our allied members, our Management Sales Council members, our emeritus members, our honorary members, our student members, everyone that's involved in this association. The number 1 way that people have described NAFB is professional. Thank you for being the professionals that you are. I'm going to keep my remarks brief this year, just in the essence of time and keeping the meeting moving. We've got a lot of great convention ahead yet today with Night of Honors tonight, a chance to get some professional improvement tomorrow, and then also an opportunity to recognize our award recipients for what they've done this year in the broadcaster contest, and with Farm Broadcaster there and Horizon Award tomorrow midday, and then a salute to Rita Frazier to wrap things up tomorrow afternoon. Thanks to you for attending. Over 600 people registered. And whenever we started convention this week, we continue to see registrations come in. Thank you to those folks that have done that. Thank you to the sponsors who see the professionalism, the trust that this organization and its membership have. We appreciate your partnership here as well. So all in all, a brief report to give to you today. I'm happy to be here with you today. I really look forward to the opportunity to shake your hand and give you a hug sometime soon down the road. In the meantime, enjoy this season of Thanksgiving, the upcoming season of joy, the time that hopefully you'll get to spend with family and friends, and the opportunities to look forward to seeing each other in the future. Thank you very much.
It doesn't take much explanation to figure out that 2020 has been a very volatile year. In fact, it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid that we had an amusement park in St. Joe that was had some roller coaster rides, and one was called the Little Dipper and one was called the Big Dipper. And I would have to say that 2020 has been the Big Dipper because of the volatility that we've experienced in all of the financial markets this year with the COVID-19. Give you a little bit of history. This year, the market hit its low for the NAFB investment account at $2,387,000, and that was on March the 21st. And I checked the account balances here on November the 11th, and it had recovered to $2,980,774, or a range of $939,000 this year from the low until the current date. And that also does not include some cash that was removed from the reserve investment account to supplement operating income. Well, 2005, no doubt, has been wild. But year to date, on the financial report that we're going to show on the screen here shortly, it'll show a very modest gain for the year of about 0.335 or something in that nature. But as of this week, when I checked the balance, we're up over 5%. That's a good return. And the investments at Edward Jones, with Mark Matthews giving consultant advice to Tom and I as we sit down with him on a regular basis, that we make sure that our funds are kind of balanced, that we're not looking for, the wildcat dream, and we have not been involved in high-tech stocks or any of those kind of things. They've basically been in bonds, CDs, and high-quality stocks that have consistent long-term dividend or dividend growth. Well, this year, the challenge is that just in the recent few weeks, we've had 3 or 4 very high-paying, very high-quality industrial bonds and CDs that are maturing. In fact, we had nearly $200,000 worth of these kind of instruments maturing here in just the last 120 days, with the final one of these to mature on November the 15th for $75,000. Now, the challenge that Mark and Tom and I have is, okay, we have this cash available, and one reason that we kept this in cash is that the board of directors determined back in August that due to the very volatile uncertainties of this year and the convention income that is a major stream of revenue for the association's operations, that we ought to maintain a liquidity position that we're able to transfer some cash into the operating account to sustain our cash flow needs. And up to this date, we've just transferred $100,000. And of course, those funds can be transferred back into the reserve whenever they feel they're not necessary for ongoing operations. Here at the convention of 2020, we look at all kinds of information that may affect us down the road. We just got through with an election. If you remember 4 years ago when Donald Trump was elected, with the stock market went up 700 points and down 700 points, all within a 24-hour period. Now, this time, I don't believe that the election really was the big important factor in the market move. It was the announcement that there's going to be a vaccine for COVID-19. That gave some confidence to the marketplace that the economy will open up again one day as we look down the future, and that we'll all get back to work and resume what we quote to be somewhere near normal, whatever that normal might be. The other thing is that is apparent as of this point in time, we don't know the final outcome yet, but that the Senate will remain in the control of the Republican branch of government, and that will create an atmosphere for competitive alignment that may not allow all of the Green New Deal to go through, for example, and some of the other issues that are very much concerning to the financial markets. As we look down the road, we're going to have to figure out how to keep our account balanced, make sure that our ratios do not get out of balance, that we're currently about 2/3 in the conservative portion of our investment portfolio and 1/3 in equities. But as we look down the road, we're probably going to have to really consider some of these non-volatile, high-quality equities, and maybe a utility that pays a 3 or 4% dividend annually, but the stock value remains fairly constant within a fairly tight range. But those are kind of some of the challenges. But it's interesting, I look back at a little bit of history. They opened an account with Mark Matthews and Edward Jones back in 2005. Now, this was just as Ken Root was leaving the executive office here at NAFB, and I was the interim for a period of time until Bill O'Neill took the wheel. And we invested at that time all of the reserve account balances with Mark Matthews at Edward Jones and St. Joseph. We invested $415,000, $415,568 to be exact. Well, that amount of money has been added to over the years, and with the current rate of return being near 5% over its history, that we've continued to grow the equity in that account. And there's also been an allocation for research projects allocated out of this reserve, as well as a down payment on the NAFB Properties building that houses our association offices here in Plant City. So that's kind of the summary of the report. I'm sure that we'd like to see some stability as we move down the road. Nobody can see the future. If I could, I wouldn't have sold 850 beans back in August. Now they're nearly $11. So with that, that's my report from the NAFB Investment Reserve Account at Edward Jones.
Thank you, Gene. Once again this year, we're pleased to have John David from the National Association of Broadcasters join us for an update from NAB. NAB is a valuable partner to NAFB, and we appreciate the continued solid relationship we enjoy with their organization that works with and on behalf of broadcasters nationwide from their DC office. Please welcome John David.
Hello, I think I got my video all set up here in good shape. My name is John David. I'm a senior advisor to the National Association of Broadcasters, and I want to thank Tom Brand for inviting me to be a part of your convention, your virtual convention. It was my pleasure to be with you in Kansas City at the hotel last year. And so thank you for inviting me to be with you again. I also want to thank Gene Millard for preceding me in the presentation. Gene and I have been buddies for years, and we had the pleasure of helping to induct Gene into the Missouri Broadcasters Hall of Fame in the summer of 2019. So again, congratulations, Gene Millard, my good buddy, for the recognition that the Missouri Broadcasters gave to you. I'm going to have a conversation with you today. This is not going to be a formal briefing, so if there's anything that I say that you'd like more detail on, please let me know. jdavid@nab.org is my email address, jdavid@nab.org. Be happy to respond to you and give you more detail, or if I don't mention something you want to know more about, please also reach out to me and be happy to respond. First of all, I want to say something about the presidential election. President-elect Biden is a very close friend of Senator Gordon Smith, our president and CEO of the NAB, and Gordon is very close to to President-elect Biden. They served on committees in the Senate. Gordon, a Republican, and Biden, a Democrat, but they have a very good personal relationship. So that speaks very well for the election situation and our future in the next 4 years working with the administration. Let's talk about some of the issues, and one of them is the Supreme Court situation, where they have agreed recently to hear from the FCC and the NAB about ownership rule regulation. The lower court, Third Circuit Court, has been blocking changes to the broadcast media ownership regulations, and this gives the opportunity for the Supreme Court to hear arguments against changing the regulations that have been, what we think have been outdated for many years. So that's a good move that happened recently in the Supreme Court. where they're going to hear from the NAB and the FCC. Let's talk about webcasting. The money that you pay to Sound Exchange for the ability to play music. You pay the foreign record labels and the artist to play on stream, when you stream your signal, stream music. About 5 years ago, the NAB got a little over a 30% reduction in the fees that you were paying. So we're now in what's called Web 5. This situation is in front of a 3-judge federal court who are going to decide what the rates that you're going to be paying in the future. We've had a 5-year rate, and so now, since August, they've been listening to arguments from the NAB, from Sound Exchange, from other entities about what we think the rates should be for the next 5 years. We've had people from smaller markets like Steve Newberry from Commonwealth Broadcasting testifying on behalf of the NAB and broadcasters all over the country. Also Bob Pittman from iHeart, and some of his top programming people have been testifying on behalf of broadcasting. As you can imagine, iHeart would have a substantial situation with Sound Exchange and would love to have rates reduced, as all of us would in the broadcasting business. So we hope to get a further reduction. We're arguing for lower fees, and this is what's going to happen. They're not going to make a decision. The 3-judge federal court is not going to make a decision until April 15th of 2021. They got delayed in these processes because of the COVID situation. So they started hearings in August, and at about mid-November, we're going to start the hearings for the final discussions, final arguments. And the decision will be made by April 15th, 2021. Now, the situation is that whatever the rate is, if it's lowered, you're going to get a refund back from January 1st of 2021. That's when the new rates will take effect, whatever the decision is. If it's a little higher than what you're paying now, which we hope is not going to happen, you'll have to be paying retroactive to January 1st of 2021. So that's the way the situation is. It's a very expensive proposition that NAB has been involved with attorneys and making all of these decisions. But I just want you to know that we're on it, and we're making the final decisions and final arguments on Web 5 to determine the fees that you'll pay for streaming music after 2021. Now, performance tax, what we call performance tax, that's the payments that you make to the foreign record labels that they would want you to make. You don't make them now, but you pay CSAC, ASCAP, and BMI and GMR for the privilege of playing music on your radio stations. That goes to the songwriters, of course. This is the foreign record labels and the artist record labels wanting you to pay more out of your revenue to play the music that they beg you to play. And NAB has been successful with this situation this year. In this Congress, we had over 218 members of the House of Representatives that sided with us. And so that is pretty safe right now that we won't have any performance tax this session of Congress. But after the new Congress comes in, after the first of the year, we're going to have to start all of this all over again and make the arguments for no performance tax, no payment to the labels, no payment to the artists for the ability to play over-the-air music. So if you get a member of Congress in your station and have an opportunity to talk about this, especially if it's a new member of Congress, make sure that you start talking about this, because we're going to have to get a whole new set of legislators on our side in the next Congress. The FCC has recently authorized all digital AM on a voluntary basis. And this is something that Chairman Ajit Pai has been advocating, and Ben Downs in Bryan, Texas, has been one of the advocates for this. So now you are okay to go all digital on your AM station if you would like to. It's a voluntary basis. There are ways to do this, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with our technology people at the NAB on what you might need to pull it off. And also, I'm connected with Xperi over in Columbia, Maryland, the HD radio people. They have people there that can help you also find out what kind of equipment you need and what kind of licensing you need. And it's a really good situation right now in the licensing. If you're interested in going all digital AM, again, it's an all voluntary basis. The NAB has been doing a lot of testing on this, and I can put you in contact with the technology people that worked on this. And if you're interested in going AM all digital, please let me know, and I'll put you in contact with people that can get you the license and get you the names of people in the equipment business that can get you set up for AM all digital if you're interested. Let's see what else I got on the agenda. The Payroll Protection Program eligibility. There have been two pieces of legislation, one in the House called the HEROES Act, and this would give provisions to expand eligibility for U.S. Small Business Administration loan access to struggling local newspapers and radio and television stations. Over in the Senate, the HEROES Small Business Lifeline Act was introduced in the Senate on the 21st of October. Now, these two pieces of legislation are in your favor if you want to take advantage of them, but they're not passed. So I just want to assure you that the NAB is working to try to get this through the Congress. A lot of discussion going on about this and other situations, as you know, but we're working on it to try to give you some protection if you want to take advantage of the Payroll Protection Act. Let me mention a couple of things here as far as people that were elected to Congress. There's a Congressman, Rick Crawford, unopposed in Arkansas, and he has sort of a history with the National Association of Farm Broadcasters that you may or may not be aware of. Rick Crawford is the owner of the Ag Watch Network, and I want to read this because I want to make sure I get it correct. They provide farm news in 5 Mid-South states. It was swept into Congress as part of the Republican takeover. Rick Crawford was. He was in 2010. He was got a new term now as unopposed in the conservative Arkansas district he represents. Before he started his own company, Crawford hosted on-air agribusiness programs for more than a decade. He earlier worked in Washington as a member of the Secret Service on a security detail protecting Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. So he's got quite a history, but he's a friend of yours and ours in Congress from Arkansas, Rick Crawford. So I just wanted to make sure you are aware that of his background in agriculture reporting. Another broadcaster, Billy Long from Southwest Missouri, was reelected to another term. He got 69% of the votes in his district in Southwest Missouri. He was a radio talk host and also is an auctioneer. So he's quite the guy, Billy Long from Southwest Missouri. Another Republican, Tom Emmer, wins in Minnesota, and he's a former radio talk show host as well. Just to sort of wrap up here, I just want to mention a couple of more people that looks like are not going to be with us is as the election situation and the Congress changes. FCC Commissioner Mike O'Reilly has been a great friend of broadcasting. He was not reappointed or nominated for reappointment by President Trump, so he will be leaving the Federal Communications Commission. We will sorely miss him because he's been a great advocate for broadcasters and just been a great commissioner. Also, we're going to be losing Congressman Greg Walden out of the state of Oregon. Congressman Walden was a broadcaster, had his own radio stations in Hood River, Oregon, and he's retiring from Congress. And he was, when the Republicans were in charge of the House, he was the chair of the Commerce Committee. And now he's the ranking member of the Commerce Committee, where a lot of our legislation goes through as far as telecommunications is concerned. So congratulations to both of these guys. We hate to lose them. With the change in the president situation, it looks like we might have a new FCC chair because Chairman Pai is a Republican chair, and if a Democrat president is involved, which looks like it is going to be, there probably will be a Democratic FCC chair. So Chairman Ajit Pai from Kansas is a great friend of ours, and we appreciate his service as a commissioner and as the chair. And it's unclear at this time what he's going to do, if he's going to stay on the commission, but that I just wanted to make note of how much we appreciated his leadership and how much we appreciate his leadership now on the Federal Communications Commission. So I want to thank you for letting me be a part of your business meeting. And again, if you have anything you want to find out more about what I've talked about or what I haven't talked about even, jdavid@nab.org, jdavid@nab.org. I'll be happy to try to follow through, hook you up with people smarter than me, and get you any information that you need.
The next item of business is the report of the nominating committee with Carrie Martin.
Madam President, the nominating committee received the following candidate names for office. For President-elect, Spencer Chase, and for Vice President, Joe Gill and Terry Henney.
The next item of business is the speeches by the candidates. Tom Brand served as timekeeper for the speeches as their videos were submitted. Article 3, Part 4 of Policies. Each nominee requests a nominating speech of 3 minutes by another member on their behalf, a seconding speech of 2 minutes, and the candidate gives a speech of 3 minutes. Nominations are taken from the floor, and the nominating process above is repeated. The nominating committee oversees the election process, counting the ballots and keeping the records. The executive director verifies the vote and then destroys the ballots after the election. For the electronic meeting, we'll be using the online service Association Voting to cast your vote. Please have your credentials ready for the Broadcast Council meeting. We'll begin with nominations for Joe Gill.
This is Don Wick from the Red River Farm Network. It is my honor to nominate Joe Gill as the next NAFB National Vice President. Let me share a little bit about Joe. He started in the radio business in 1999, and in 2008, when his predecessor, Cliff Mitchell, retired, Joe took over as the farm director at KASM. Now, you need to know a little bit about Cliff Mitchell. He was an icon in the ag community in central Minnesota. Cliff was on the air at that same radio station for 56 years. It takes some courage to follow a legend, and Joe Gill was up to that task. Now, Joe didn't just follow in Cliff's footsteps. He made his own path in this industry, and I've always respected the way that Joe approaches this business. He has the respect of his listeners and the entire ag community across the region. Now, it may not be the case for all of us in farm broadcasting, but Joe actually listens more than he speaks. As a member of the officer team, Joe will listen to what you have to say. He will hear what you have to say, and that's something you want in a national officer. Joe was the West Region NAFB Vice President in 2018 and 2019. I spoke with Lori Boyer, who was the president in that final year, and asked what her thoughts were on Joe as a board member. She said Joe was always very thorough and analytical in his thinking, and he was always able to look at both sides of an issue. Joe respects our history, but he also has an eye to the future, a vision for the future of NAFB. That's something we want, especially during these challenging times with COVID-19. I trust Joe to do what is best for all of us in the farm broadcasting industry. Joe Gill has character, and he's going to do the right thing for NAFB and for you as a farm broadcaster. Again, it is my honor to nominate Joe Gill. Please join me in voting for Joe Gill as your next NAFB National Vice President.
Hey, thanks, Don. I appreciate the opportunity to second the nomination of Joe Gill to our National Farm Broadcaster Officer team. I'll tell you what, I've got personal and professional connections with Joe. Let's start off with the personal side, but also professional. Think about it. He's following in the steps of Cliffy Mitchell's show, Aunt Sarah's Party Line. All of us know about it. That show continues. The reason I bring it up is Joe looked at that program and was respectful of the farm broadcaster that generated that content, that brought that community together, that really helped that station. And he also appreciated that Cliff kind of mentored him along. So we've got that. I also personally see what Joe is doing with his young family, using animal agriculture as a way to teach them not only about a work ethic, not only about the life cycle, but also about giving back to the community. You know, that's not just something that he's doing because he's on the radio or something for the community. I think that Joe would just soon not have the attention, but he wants his girls to learn that kind of a value system. I really appreciate that, and I think it's something that sometimes goes overlooked as far as officer candidate qualities are concerned. And then, of course, from a personal side of things, I've been really blessed to have Joe at my place for World Dairy Expo the past couple of years. You know, he's such a humble guy. He just wanted to stand back, or maybe he was just scared of us, but he just wanted to stand back and take things in. But now I'm happy to say that Joe has stayed at our place and been a part of the Farm Broadcast Network that works at World Dairy Expo in our normal years. It's been both a privilege and an honor to get to know him as a young farm broadcaster, how he approaches the industry, how he approaches being a dad, and how he is an outstanding friend. I second the nomination for Joe Gill to our National Farm Broadcaster Officer team.
Thank you. Now the nominations for Terry Henney.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Young with Brownfield Ag News. It is my honor to nominate Terry Henney for the office of NAFB Vice President. I like Terry. He's one of the most kind, caring, and friendly people that I know. Terry is an excellent farm broadcaster. His farm programs on WSGW are the longest continuous running programs on any radio station in the state of Michigan. But those aren't the reasons that I'm nominating Terry for this position. Years ago, I had the opportunity to chair a national strategic planning committee for NAFB. It was amazing how many farm broadcasters had to be dragged kicking and screaming out of the 1970s. Terry Henney was not one of them. He understood then, as he does now, the importance of our organization's history and foundation. But he also understands and is all for slaying a few sacred cows if that's the best step to move NAFB and farm broadcasting forward. Terry's not afraid to take out the long lens and explore what our membership needs to be prosperous and what the NAFB needs to be relevant in the future. If you read Terry's bio, you'll know that he's attended every NAFB convention since 1975. The reason he hasn't run for national office before now is because he needed to be sure he was at a point in his career where he had the full support of the radio station to be able to give this leadership role the time and commitment that it needs. Terry has that support now. Terry demonstrates many leadership qualities that will make him effective in this role. He's open-minded. Yes, he has great ideas, but he listens to others and is not always assuming that his way is the only way. He recognizes talent and skill in others, and while learning from them, is not afraid to delegate responsibilities when that's the path to the best outcome. Terry is dedicated and passionate about the National Association of Farm Broadcasting. He is loyal, he is trustworthy, and he is humble. And whether you are a young gun in this organization or you count your membership in decades, as I do, Terry Henney will serve you well. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in voting for Terry Henney as Vice President of NAFB. And with Terry's seconding nomination, please join me in welcoming Taylor Brown with the Northern Ag Network.
First of all, I'd like to thank our officers and staff for allowing us to participate in this way, although I've got to tell you, it is not enough. I really miss seeing you guys in person. But I'm very proud today to second the nomination of Terry Henney for our National Vice President. During these challenging times, I think it's critical that we have an experienced hand on the tiller. And in his long career as an NAFB member, Terry Henney has been just that. A member since 1975, Terry is a legend in Michigan agriculture, but his service to NAFB is exemplified, I think, by his work with the NAFB Foundation. We were the second wave of the foundation after Orion Samuelson and George Logan and Roddy Peebles and others had established it. But nearly 20 years ago, the foundation needed a new direction. I wouldn't say we were in trouble, but we needed a different way to go. And the foundation budget was only about $16,000. About $8,000 was all we had for scholarships. So we held our first strategic planning session, and we organized an annual giving program called the NAFB Booster Club, and we set a goal of trying to get to $250,000 by our 25th year, our silver anniversary. Look how far we've come today. But that kind of progress doesn't come without leadership. It doesn't come without experienced, visionary leaders that can see what could be and how to get us there. Not only was he our treasurer, but if he received a scholarship from NAFB from probably the mid-1990s till 2010, Terry Henney was our scholarship chairman. He was the originator of what we call our student source list, the first list of students that coordinated the NAFB intern program and scholarships, the very beginnings of our early student membership. Look how far that's come. Terry Henney will be a great leader for NAFB because he already has been one. And I urge you to support Terry Henney. He's probably done as much for NAFB as anybody in this room. Let's put his experience to work and help build a stronger NAFB during these challenging times.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidates. Let's start with Joe Gill.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you, Don. I appreciate your nomination. I'm Chasm Radio Farm Director Joe Gill, and I look to be your next National Vice President with the National Association of Farm Broadcasting. First of all, a bit of a background on me. I've been at Chasm Radio in Albany, right in central Minnesota, for roughly 21 years. Farm Director since 2009. I grew up on a family dairy farm, which is still in operation in Stearns County in central Minnesota. One of 10 kids. My wife, Denise, we've been married 15 years. She's one of 11 kids. We have 2 kids ourselves. Natalie, she is 13. Ben is 11. We also raise some baby calves and raise them to feeder size. We also do that on the side, as both my wife and I, work in radio. So it's a pretty interesting day to day. NAFB is something I value. I look at members as family. It's really an organization that I hold in such high regard, and I'm excited and looking forward to possibly serving as Vice President on the national level. NAFB has given me a lot of opportunities, whether it's Washington Watch or serving as West Region VP a couple years ago. Different activities and opportunities, something I never thought I would be able to do as a broadcaster. And I can only see those opportunities be more available here in the future. What can I do as your National Vice President? First of all, I'm a good listener. I'm a good teammate. I work well with others. I think the board right now is very strong. I look forward to being a member of that board and deciding on how our organization can be stronger into the future. When it comes to membership, I had two broadcasters reach out to me, Bob Bosold and Tom Stever. Initially, they told me why being a member was so important. That really kickstarted me into being a part of NAFB. Another kickstart was the Leadership Academy. Gave me that kick in the pants I needed to be more of a leader in my own community, which I've done. Recently, my chiropractor, Dr. Keith, has inspirational messages on his board as you drive by every week. The most recent one said, "You can do anything, but you can't do everything." I think that really kind of encompasses a board. Not one person can do it all. You all have to work together. I appreciate your time. I would also appreciate your vote. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the privilege of being your next National Vice President.
And now, Terry Henney.
First of all, thanks a lot, Cindy and Taylor, for your very kind words. I really appreciate it. The thing about NAFB is you build friendships over the years, and I'm privileged to have those two individuals as very good friends. And again, I really appreciate your kind words. You know, this all started back in 1973 with a telephone call from a gentleman by the name of Jack Crowner, who is in the Hall of Fame. He told me at that time that I should be a member of NAFB. And I had no idea what NAFB meant. You know, Google wasn't in the phone book or in the catalog or anything like that. So I had no idea. And obviously, Google wasn't around, the internet wasn't around, emails, there was no such thing. So I had to kind of go by telephone calls and what he sent me. Well, he sent me an opportunity to be a part of an organization of great people who really, truly believed in what they were doing. The National Association of Farm Broadcasters was something that was really important to a lot of people, and it became important to me. From 1975 all the way to this year, unfortunately not this year, but I've been going to Kansas City every year for every convention because there are great people to work with, and it's a wonderful organization to learn a lot. And the opportunity now has been extended to me again. Opportunity in that you see something, you feel something, and then you grasp it. I've had plenty of opportunity with NAFB, but this one is the most important to me. This is going to be an opportunity to be a part of the leadership of this organization for at least the next year, if not longer than that, I sure hope. NAFB is very important to me. And I know it's very important to each and every one of you, and we want to keep it that way. We're heading down the right road. All we need is a little push now and then to keep us going and keep the momentum going. And that's what it's all about. Well, it's time for me now to get back to work here in Saginaw. As you can tell, I'm putting my farm program together. I'll be on the air probably here within the next 15 minutes. And I hope to be working for you through NAFB, not in the matter of the next 15 minutes, but once the vote comes in and you have selected me as National Vice President. I look forward to that opportunity, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you on a daily basis. This is something that I'm really going to enjoy, and I hope you'll appreciate my leadership. Thank you very much for considering me, and I would appreciate your vote.
These speeches have been made to inform all the members. The election will be held at the Broadcast Council meeting that follows this meeting. Only those who are Broadcast Council members, non-commercial members, may vote to elect officers. The Broadcast Council meeting will be held immediately following this meeting. Broadcast Council members, please make sure you have your credentials available so you can participate in the online vote. The link for voting will be shared during the Broadcast Council meeting. Regional meetings are scheduled to begin at 5 o'clock Central Time following the Broadcast Council meeting. Is there any further business to come before the Assembly? If not, the meeting will be adjourned. This meeting is adjourned.